Sightsee the Tarot is a series on my channel through which I take you on a tour of tarot books, spreads, techniques and tips, different decks, and more. Today's video will be guided tarot journaling. You won't need a tarot deck, but do get ready to pause the video step by step to do some writing and self-reflecting. And while we're at it, learn a little about transformative tarot counseling. For this tarot journaling session, please definitely take the time to download the supplemental handout from the series page. The handout comes as a printable PDF in US letter size and is 10 pages long, with space provided for you to write onto the worksheet. The totally free downloadable handout is going to reconcile Jungian psychology and tarot archetypes to solidify the previous Sightsee the Tarot video workshop with what we're learning today about transformative tarot counseling. So if you have not downloaded the supplemental handout already, then please pause here, go to the series page, and download it before continuing. Katrina Wynne is a tarot reader and author with over 4 decades of experience in tarot and 3 decades of professional experience as a psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, counselor, and dream worker. To discuss Wynne's perspective on tarot counseling, we'll be journaling and self-reflecting with the New Era Elements Tarot together. The cards you'll be journaling through will appear across the screen for you. Let's start with the distinction between predictive reading and tarot counseling. Wynne describes predictive reading as a process of ritualized card selection that combines card knowledge, intuition, and psychic guidance. There is the aspect of fortune telling where the reader tells the querent or client what will happen. The reader leads the querent or client. A counseling-based approach, in contrast, is a form of co-creative storytelling where the tarot reader supports the client's ability to work through his or her own issues, facilitates realization of different perspectives of that same issue, and follows the client rather than lead. In tarot counseling, you listen rather than tell. I've pre-selected 4 cards for the TTC spread that you can journal with, though that first card to the very left, where right now you see key 1, the Magus, you'll choose to either work with the Magus or key 2, the High Priestess. For the subject, we're choosing a card that best represents you, either the High Priestess or the Magus. For the known and conscious, key 12 is the card I've selected for us to work through. For the unknown and unconscious, the card numerologically related to key 12 is key 3. Its reduction, 1 plus 2, is 3 for key 3, the Empress. For the next step, the card chosen is key 4, the Emperor. Let's start with the first card, the subject. Choose either key 1, the Magus, or key 2, the High Priestess. The card you choose is going to be a projection of who you are, the facet of you we are going to focus on for this journaling exercise. Here, our purpose is self-reflection, to project out as either the Magus or the High Priestess, study this archetype objectively, externally, and then integrate, understand how this archetype is in fact ourselves. Explore how exactly and why exactly you identify with this archetype. If you choose the Magus to represent you and where you're at in terms of mind and circumstances, study this card and ask yourself, what is your first impression? Free write in your journal what comes immediately to mind when you study the imagery here of the Magus from the New Era Elements Tarot. Next, identify 3 symbols or pictorial expressions on the card. In your journal, free write what you think of specifically from your own life that each of these 3 symbols you've chosen evokes for you. Quick example to help your own process. I personally see the trademark for Botox, and I think about aging as a woman right now, the commodity and capital asset of beauty as a woman when I'm in any professional or career setting, and what it means to me right now to be slowly, gradually losing that asset. Take your time here. Really put in some serious effort and thought in your journaling. What we're doing here is applying Wynne's counseling technique called blank access, where there's no telling, just listening. And right now you have unfettered discretion to interpret the Magus card in any way you like. You are not limited by card meanings or traditions in any way whatsoever. Next, connect all the insights you've come up with to some objective, learned knowledge of the card meaning. Since you're tarot journaling for yourself, go ahead and look up the card meaning for the Magician or the Magus in your favorite tarot book, in multiple tarot books, in fact, and free write how you identify, self-identify as the Magician. What attributes of the Magician or the Magus are in you? Here's the objective written card meaning for the Magus from the New Era Elements Tarot Guidebook. Pause the video here if you've selected to free write and journal on how you identify as the Magus. Key 2, the High Priestess in the New Era Elements Tarot, is a self-portrait of the deck creator and artist. But first, take a look at the 5 tarot cards set out in front of our High Priestess. The center card pictured is Key 18, the Moon. The card over on the left is the Two of Wands. The 4 minors pictured here, in fact, are all twos. You've got the Two of Cups, and over to the right of the Moon is the Two of Swords, and then there's the Two of Pentacles. Perhaps in this journaling exercise, you may want to deep dive into this 5-card spread within the High Priestess. If you identify more as the High Priestess, here, journal your impressions of this specific image. Look at her and her surroundings, the symbolism here, and which 3 symbols speak to you, and how do they speak to you? Describe, describe, describe. Ask yourself and answer, why do you self-identify as the High Priestess? What attributes of the High Priestess are in you? If you'd like to deep dive into the tarot cards depicted on the card, the Rider-Waite-Smith equivalents are displayed on the screen for you. If you identify with the High Priestess instead of the Magus, pause the video now, free write in your tarot journal, and when you're done, resume the video. If you had selected the Magus, here you can skip and move on. Now consider card 2, the known and conscious. We will be journaling through the Hanged Man. Now it's time to free write your feelings, your fears, especially your fears and anxieties. What are the most immediate external influences that are bothering you right now? What have you been procrastinating about or stalling on? What do you know you've been overly defensive about? And now take the time to unpack why. Think global political scale and then think personal. How has your world been embodying the archetype of the Hanged Man? How have you specifically as an individual found yourself embodying the Hanged Man? Refer to the worksheet journaling prompts and pause the video here until you're ready to continue on. Now consider card 3. The Empress is the unseen, unconscious, hidden influence underlying your fears and anxieties. Key 12, the Hanged Man, is related to Key 3, the Empress, through their numerological common 3. And for reference, here are the insights linked to the numerology of 3. Enough thinking, more doing. Write that down in your journal and then write down, what does that apply to? What in your life right now do you need to stop overthinking and stalling on and just take action, like now? How are the external forces around you pushing you toward manifestation? Pause the video here to journal through the prompts for the numerology of 3 and only resume when you're ready. Now make a note of your first immediate impressions, thoughts, and emotions from seeing the Empress card. Note at least 3 specific symbols from the Empress card that caught your attention the most. Describe what thoughts came to mind when you saw those details. Describe your emotions. I'm providing Dr. Piper's card meanings from the New Era Elements Tarot Guidebook for your reference. Draw connections between the guidebook's given objective card meanings and your subjective, emotional, personal, and intellectual impressions of this imagery. Then think about what your unconscious is trying to tell you, inform you about the hidden, unseen, and internal influences going on. Pause the video here to free write on the journal prompts. And now let's consider the final card 4, which reveals to you what next steps to take. We will be working through Key 4, the Emperor, guided by the journaling prompts in the supplemental handout. And for reference, in case you find it turns out to be relevant to you, the 13-letter motto, 13, 1 plus 3 is 4, key 4, the Emperor, is part of the Great Seal of the United States, which reads, oh boy, I'm going to butcher this, a pluribus unum, meaning one out of many or one from many. Study the details and card imagery of Key 4, the Emperor. Free write your impressions. Use the blank access technique in counseling to deep dive into your own unconscious and inner divine wisdom. Spot the 3 symbols or details in the Emperor card that call to your attention the most. Then work through textbook card knowledge of the Emperor card in tarot and connect it to what you journaled earlier through blank access. The purpose here is to establish your personal sovereignty. Pause the video and resume when ready. The 4 cards in the Transformative Tarot Counseling or TTC spread also coincide with the 4 stages of magic. These 4 stages are outlined in Israel Regardie's The Art and Meaning of Magic, which Katrina Wynne discusses in her book. The first stage is divination, which is the opening up of your intuitive capacity and decreasing that gap between your physical limitations and your divine nature. In our tarot journaling exercise today, that was your ruminations on either key 1, the Magus, or key 2, the High Priestess. The second stage is evocation and vision. When we got to this second card, the spirits were stirred from their sleep. This is the stage of awareness of the constellation of mental factors with a strong emotional charge, capable of influencing conscious thought and behavior. When you reflected on the Hanged Man, you were identifying the primary energies of your drama, naming your fears and anxieties, probing them, and releasing all of those emotions in a space where judgment shall not be passed upon you for having those emotions. The third stage is invocation and union with the divine, the word God here used as the stand-in for higher consciousness. In Jungian psychology, this is the individuation process. Stage 3 is about uncovering a hidden layer to see what's going on underneath. In journaling on the Empress card, your descriptions and your impressions revealed the wisdom behind the Hanged Man. The Empress is a different perspective of what you saw through the Hanged Man's eyes. How you, my dear viewer, personally put the Hanged Man and the Empress together will reveal your inner magic, which in turn will enable you to operate at your best and manifest all that you seek for yourself. The fourth stage of magic is initiation. Wynne describes this as developing the strength and acquiring the insights to then assist others in their sacred journey. This is the student becoming the teacher. This is you empowering yourself to the fullest capacity so that you can then be of service to your society, to be part of achieving a greater good. What you saw and journaled about from the Emperor will transcend the tarot cards and endow you with insights that you will be able to implement into everyday life. The 4 stages of magic are the 4 components of transformative tarot counseling. Just in case it was not clear, what we just did, tarot journaling, is not in any way an equivalent to counseling. The attempt was to give you an excerpt of techniques to better understand transformative tarot counseling as an approach. These journaling prompts were intended to demonstrate how tarot cards can be used beyond just divination or fortune telling, how deep and profound insights can still come through even in a non-psychic setting. Tarot counseling is still tarot magic, and every step of the way, Katrina Wynne emphasizes that point. There isn't this gaping divide between tarot as magic and tarot as psychology. The functions are one and the same, always. Beyond today's guided tarot journaling, you can work with Katrina Wynne's Transformative Tarot Counseling Spread in any tarot reading or divinatory setting, which draws upon the 4 stages of magic toward achieving the high art of alchemical manifestation and psychological transformation.